I'm Nicole. Standing at the edge of the once raucous terrace, now eerily quiet, I clutch a half-empty glass of 2015 Cabernet. The ocean waves crash rhythmically against the rocks below, and the wind rustles through the eucalyptus trees. It's a peaceful scene, a stark contrast to the chaos that just unfolded here. A few hours ago, this place was a maelstrom of noise and chaos. The main terrace was packed with 300 people, a sea of vape smoke and cheap ambition. A DJ was spinning on a platform over the pool, and a girl in a bikini was dancing dangerously close to my drought-resistant landscaping. I remember walking through the crowd, feeling like a shark in a school of tuna. People bumped into me, spilling drinks, not even bothering to apologize. They only cared about follower counts, and I was just an obstacle. Then, I saw him, Ethan, the so-called buyer. He was on the stage, holding a microphone in one hand and a magnum of champagne in the other. His white suit was already stained, and he was sweating. He was boasting about how he'd conquered this place, how it was now the headquarters of his new venture. But little did he know, I was about to shatter his dreams. As he spoke, his fiancée, Lily, caught sight of me. She nudged him, but he brushed her off. When he finally noticed me, his smile faltered. "Is that the cleaning lady?" he muttered, and the speakers picked it up. I just smiled, the same cold smile I'd given him when he'd first told me to clean the pool. I walked into the living room, and he followed me, angry and confused. I laid the envelope on the antique desk. "Hello, Ethan," I said calmly. "I think it's time we discuss the closing." He laughed, thinking I was just the help. But then I told him my name, and that I was the owner of this property and the developer he'd been insulting on TikTok. His face went pale when I handed him the notice of cancellation of sale. I explained how he'd violated the historical integrity clause and committed fraud by filing a demolition permit before owning the title. He was furious, threatening to sue me, but I wasn't intimidated. I'd survived a divorce, a market crash, and countless city council meetings. A boy with a crypto wallet and a rented suit was no match for me. I gave him 10 minutes to clear the premises, or the police would be called. He stood there, paralyzed, until I walked past him and went back to the terrace. I stopped the music, announced that the sale was cancelled, and that everyone was trespassing. The crowd was in shock, and Ethan tried to deny it, but when he saw the red recording circles on the phones, he realized his meltdown was being streamed in 4K. He grabbed Lily's hand and left, and within 20 minutes, the terrace was empty. Now, as I sit here, sipping my wine, I think back to how it all started. 2 years ago, I was going through a rough patch. My husband of 15 years, who I'd thought was my rock, left me for a yoga instructor named Ava. I was left with a broken heart and a forensic accountant trying to sort out our finances. But I found solace in a dilapidated property on the coast. It was a mess. Termites had feasted on the load-bearing walls, and the roof leaked so badly that the living room had its own moss ecosystem. Everyone told me to tear it down and build a glass box for some tech bro, but I saw the potential. I saw the arched hallways that mimicked the curves of the coastline, and I knew I had to save it. I spent the next 24 months bringing this place back to life. I sourced the walnut paneling for the library to match the original 1920s grain, hired a craftsman from a local guild to restore the intricate moldings, and argued with the lighting designer for weeks about the placement of the lights. It was more than a job, it was a reconstruction of my soul. A few days ago, I was standing by the infinity edge of the pool, checking the pH levels of the saline water. My pool maintenance guy, Miguel, was out with the flu, and I refused to hand over a cloudy pool. That's when I heard the slap of expensive leather loafers on the travertin deck. It was Ethan, flanked by 3 of his friends, all holding champagne flutes from my staging inventory. "Clean the pool, girl," he said, laughing as he almost spilled the champagne on the stone. He treated me like I was invisible, like I was just the help. He thought the deal was done, even though the wire transfer was still pending and the title hadn't been transferred. He was so arrogant, with his unearned confidence and his crypto wallet full of Bitcoin. I tried to reason with him, telling him that the property hadn't transferred possession yet and that he wasn't supposed to be there without an agent. But he just sneered at me, mocking my linen pants and my lack of makeup. He even threatened to call my boss and tell him I had an attitude problem. I could have told him who I was right then, but I held my tongue. Something cold and calculating woke up inside me. I decided to play along, for now. I told him I'd get back to work and make sure the pool was perfect. He just waved me off, asking me to grab some ice from the cabana. That night, after they left for dinner, I went into the house. I didn't turn on the lights, I knew every shadow in this place. When I walked into the library, I saw the blue painter's tape. Written in thick black Sharpie were words like demo and tear out shelving for NFT screens. My heart sank. He was going to destroy everything I'd worked so hard for. I remembered the artist, an 80-year-old woman named Clara, who'd painted the mural in the dining room while telling me stories about the history of the canyon. I remembered sanding the floors on my hands and knees at 2 a.m. Crying because I couldn't figure out how to be single at 42. This house was my proof that I could survive, that broken things could be beautiful again. I pulled out my phone and opened my cloud drive. I found the historical integrity and preservation clause in the sales contract, a clause my lawyer, Victor, had insisted on inserting. Most buyers didn't even read it, but Ethan certainly hadn't. He'd probably just told his assistant to sign the thing. The next morning, I was at my office in the city. The pending wire transfer of $14,500,000 was glowing green on my computer screen. It was a lot of money, my retirement money, the money that could take me to Tuscany and let me never look back. But I couldn't let Ethan destroy this house. My assistant, Mia, showed me a video of Ethan drunk in the library, calling the house a dump and saying he was going to sledgehammer the antique fireplace. He also said he'd paid off the HOA president and was going to turn the place into a wild party house. I was furious, but I knew I needed to be smart. I asked Mia to dig up everything on Ethan, his permits, previous lawsuits, credit history. I also got the guest list for his housewarming party. It was a roster of the worst people on the internet, and I noticed a note that said if I showed up, I was to be kept away from the VIP area. To Ethan, I was just the decorator lady. I called Victor, my lawyer. He warned me that if I pulled the plug at the last minute, Ethan would sue me. But I found out that Ethan had filed a demolition permit before owning the title, which was fraud. This gave us the leverage we needed. I decided to go to the party dressed as staff. I wore a pair of generic beige work pants and a navy polo shirt with staff on the breast pocket. I carried a clipboard and walked fast, blending in with the chaos. When I saw Ethan, he didn't recognize me. He just told me to clean the pool and open the Magnum bottles. I ran into the catering manager, Isabella, who I'd hired for a company event a few years ago. I told her not to prep the wine room and to keep the vintage collection in the cellar locked. She understood and agreed to help me. As the sun began to set and the guests started arriving, I retreated to the servants' quarters. I watched as the party got wilder and wilder. Ethan's real estate agent, Ryan, kept texting me, asking for the final countersign. I stalled, saying I was having scanner issues. When I saw Ethan's TikTok video calling me a menopausal pool lady, something inside me snapped. I knew it was time to take action. I changed into my black silk jumpsuit by Alexander McQueen, let my hair down, and applied a coat of red lipstick. I grabbed my clutch and walked out into the night. And that's how I ended up here, sitting by the pool, sipping wine, and looking at the skimmer net that now feels like a scepter. I kept the house, and I kept my dignity. The market will turn, and there will be other buyers. Ones who respect history and beauty. For the first time in years, this house feels like home.